Chapter 1. First Contact Beneath the Azure Canopy. The shuttle descended through Isha's upper atmosphere, its hull streaked with pale blue light from the planet's bioluminescent clouds. Samantha Hayes leaned forward in her seat, her heart pounding with anticipation as the alien world came into view. Below, an endless canopy of glowing trees stretched as far as the horizon, their leaves pulsing with soft, rhythmic light. Rivers of molten silver twisted through the landscape, reflecting the luminescence above. "It's like the whole planet is alive," Sam murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. "Alive and watching," muttered Dr. Lang, her research team's leader, from across the cockpit. "Let's hope the locals are as friendly as the trees look." Sam didn't reply, her attention fixed on the breathtaking view. Isha was humanity's first true encounter with intelligent extraterrestrial life on a planetary scale. The Ishari, elusive and ethereal, had sent emissaries to the humans' orbiting ship but had remained distant. Today, however, was the first opportunity for human researchers to step foot on their world. The shuttle landed gently in a designated clearing, where the trees arched inward, their glowing leaves forming a natural dome overhead. As the engines powered down, the eerie silence of the planet enveloped them. The air was warm and thick with a faint floral aroma as Sam stepped onto the soft, glowing moss. She adjusted her environmental suit, making sure the lightweight material didn't snag on the delicate alien flora. "Stay close to the group," Lang ordered, scanning the area with a handheld device. "We don't know how the Ishari might react to us wandering off." Sam nodded, but her gaze was drawn to the shifting colors around her. The trees seemed to shimmer in response to her presence, their hues deepening into shades of violet and turquoise. Then she saw them. A group of Ishari emerged from the forest, their forms blending with the glowing landscape. They were tall, slender beings with translucent, bioluminescent skin that rippled with shifting patterns of light. Their movements were graceful, almost fluid, as though they floated rather than walked. Sam's breath caught as one of them stepped forward. Unlike the others, whose lights pulsed in muted hues, this one radiated vibrant gold and emerald tones. His form seemed less imposing, his movements curious rather than cautious. Dr. Lang stepped forward, raising her hands in what humanity hoped was a universal gesture of peace. The lead Ishari responded with a harmonic tone, its voice resonating like a chord played on some cosmic instrument. The humans' translator devices struggled to process the sound, producing only fragments of meaning. Greetings, presence, shared harmony. Sam's eyes widened, fascinated. She stepped closer, catching the golden-toned Ishari's attention. Its lights shifted in a pattern that seemed almost playful, a sharp contrast to the measured tones of its companions. "Careful, Hayes," Lang warned. "I think it's trying to communicate," Sam said softly. She reached into her satchel and pulled out a small instrument, a handcrafted ocarina she often used to relax. She hesitated only briefly before blowing a soft, melodic note that rose and fell in imitation of the Ishari's tones. The golden-toned Ishari paused, its lights flickering in surprise. Then, with a harmonic hum, it responded, mimicking the note and adding its own cascading melody. Sam's heart swelled. "It's singing back." Lang frowned. "Or signaling for reinforcements. Don't push it." But Sam couldn't pull herself away. She played another note, this time weaving a simple tune. The Ishari's lights shimmered, and it stepped closer, its harmonic tones blending with hers. For a moment, they were the only sounds in the clearing. The other Ishari watched, their patterns shifting subtly as though in approval. When the melody ended, the golden Ishari extended a long, delicate hand. Sam hesitated, then gently reached out, her gloved fingers brushing its palm. A wave of warmth and light passed between them, leaving her skin tingling even through the suit. The translator crackled again. Name, exchange, bridge. Sam smiled. I'm Samantha. Sam. The Ishari's lights shifted into a complex rhythm, and the translator produced a single word, Kalen. Kalen's lights flickered, a ripple of vibrant gold. Lang sighed, rubbing her temple. Congratulations, Hayes. You just made first contact. Let's hope you didn't also start a diplomatic incident. Sam barely heard her, her focus entirely on Kalen and the harmony they had just shared. As the Ishari guided the team toward their village, a luminous grove that seemed to hum with life, Kalen stayed close to Sam, his patterns shifting in a way that felt almost conversational. Sam couldn't help but smile as they walked. Beneath the alien skies of Isha, she felt a spark of connection unlike anything she'd ever known. The journey to understand each other had only just begun, but already Kalen and Sam had found common ground in the universal language of light and sound. Chapter 2. Bridging the Light and the Sound. The research station hummed quietly in the clearing, its lights dim compared to the vibrant glow of the Ishari village nearby. Samantha sat at her workstation, staring intently at the screen as streams of data flickered across it. Her ocarina rested beside her, its soft curves catching the bluish light of her lamp. Kalen was seated opposite her, his bioluminescent form casting rippling patterns on the walls. The Ishari ambassador had taken to visiting her regularly, a fact that alternately fascinated and frustrated the rest of the research team. "You've got a shadow now, Hayes," Dr. Lang had grumbled that morning. Sam didn't mind. Kalen's presence had become a source of calm in the midst of the endless scientific bureaucracy and the occasional tension between humans and Ishari. Now she glanced up at him, watching as his lights shifted in slow, mesmerizing waves. "Okay, Kalen," she said aloud, knowing he wouldn't understand the words. "Let's try this again." She tapped a button on her console, projecting a holographic display of Ishari light patterns. She pointed to one, a complex spiral of green and gold, and then to herself. "Sam," she said, emphasizing her name. Kalen's lights flickered in response, and he mimicked the pattern perfectly. "Good." Sam beamed, clapping her hands. "Now let's see if we can connect it to a sound." She picked up her ocarina and played a series of notes that rose and fell in the same rhythm as the light pattern. Kalen tilted his head, his lights pulsing thoughtfully, then responded with a harmonic hum that matched her melody. Sam's heart raced. "Yes, that's it." Kalen's lights brightened briefly, a clear sign of approval, or at least that's how Sam interpreted it. As the days passed, Sam and Kalen continued their unorthodox lessons. She recorded his light patterns and tones, linking them to concepts and emotions whenever she could. Kalen, in turn, began to understand more of her gestures and expressions. One afternoon, Kalen led her to the edge of the Ishari village, where the forest opened into a breathtaking meadow. Towering plants with glowing, translucent petals swayed gently in the breeze, their colors shifting in harmony with the soft hum of the environment. Sam gasped, turning slowly to take it all in. "It's beautiful." Kalen stepped forward, his lights rippling in a pattern she hadn't seen before. It took her a moment to realize it was directed at her. The translator at her side crackled, struggling to interpret. "Beautiful. Gift. Harmony." Sam blinked, then smiled. "You think I'm beautiful?" Kalen's lights shifted, the gold and emerald hues brightening briefly before settling into a steady rhythm. Sam felt her cheeks warm. "You're not so bad yourself, you know." That evening, as the stars began to appear in the alien sky, Sam shared stories of Earth with Kalen. She used her ocarina to mimic bird calls, the rush of ocean waves, and the gentle patter of rain. Kalen listened intently, his lights flickering in time with her melodies. When she finished, Kalen produced a soft harmonic tone, his lights forming a new pattern, one that the translator hesitantly labeled question. "You want to know more about me?" Sam guessed, pointing to herself. Kaylin's lights brightened. "Well, there's not much to tell," she said with a small laugh. "I'm a botanist. I study plants. Back home, I used to spend hours in the greenhouse, just watching things grow. It's peaceful." Kaylin responded with a pattern of soft blues and greens. The translator offered a single word, peace. Sam nodded. "Yeah, peace." For a moment, they sat in silence, the light from the Ishari village casting faint shadows around them. Then Kaylin reached out, his translucent fingers brushing the ocarina. "You want to try?" Sam asked, holding it out to him. Kaylin hesitated, then took the instrument carefully. His lights shifted as he studied it, and after a few moments he produced a single, clear note. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough to make Sam grin. "Not bad for your first try," she said. Kaylin's lights shimmered in what Sam had come to recognize as amusement. As the days turned to weeks, Sam and Kaylin's bond deepened. The Ishari ambassador often guided her through the village, showing her the wonders of his world. He introduced her to glowing gardens, where plants sang in harmonic tones when touched, and the Sky River, a celestial phenomenon that lit up the night like a flowing aurora. Sam, in turn, shared her own culture, explaining human concepts of art, emotion, and, most intriguingly to Kaylin, love. The translator struggled to capture her explanation, but Kaylin seemed fascinated. His lights shifted in intricate patterns as he hummed softly, processing the idea. "Love isn't just a feeling," Sam said one evening. "It's a connection. A kind of harmony between two people, I guess." Kaylin's lights stilled briefly, then flickered in a complex sequence. The translator offered a single word, harmony. Sam smiled. "Yeah, harmony." Under the alien skies of Isha, Sam and Kaylin were building a bridge, a language of light and sound that transcended the barriers of their worlds. Though neither fully understood where their connection might lead, they both knew it was something rare and extraordinary, like the glowing stars above. Chapter 3. Harmony Amidst Discord. The crystalline cliffs overlooking the Sky River were breathtaking, their surfaces catching the shimmering ribbons of light that flowed across the heavens. Samantha stood at the edge, her breath catching as the wind carried faint harmonic tones from the valley below. She turned to Kaylin, who stood a few steps away, his bioluminescent patterns glowing in rhythmic waves that matched the hum of the planet. "It's incredible," she said softly. "Nothing on Earth comes close to this." Kaylin's lights shifted, the translator offering fragments, shared, or unity. Sam smiled. "Exactly." But their peaceful moment was interrupted by the arrival of Dr. Lang, her face tight with frustration. Behind her, two other human researchers approached, their footsteps crunching against the glassy surface of the cliffs. "Hayes," Lang said sharply, "we need to talk." Back at the research station, tensions had been rising. The Ishari elders had grown wary of the humans' presence, particularly their collection of biological samples from the glowing forests. While Sam had worked tirelessly to respect the Ishari's boundaries, others on the team had been less careful, prioritizing their studies over diplomacy. "The elders are threatening to revoke our access to the village," Lang said, her tone clipped. "They think we're disrupting the harmony of their environment. Whatever that means." Sam frowned. "It means we need to listen to them. This isn't our planet." Lang crossed her arms. "That's easy for you to say. You've been spending all your time playing ambassador with your glowing friend here." Kaylin, who had accompanied them back to the station, shifted his lights in a pattern that Sam interpreted as confusion. "Kaylin's been helping me understand their culture," Sam said defensively. "If we want to stay, we need their trust, not just their permission. Lang sighed, rubbing her temples. We don't have time for trust, Hayes. We're on a tight schedule, and the Ishari elders are already suspicious. If they think we're taking too much from their forests, this whole mission could fall apart. Later that evening, Kalen led Sam to a secluded part of the forest. The trees here were taller and denser, their glowing leaves forming an almost impenetrable canopy. A soft, melodic hum filled the air, resonating through the ground beneath their feet. "This place," Sam said, her voice hushed. "It's special, isn't it?" Kalen's lights shifted into a pattern of deep blues and greens. The translator offered, "Sacred, sanctuary, forbidden." "Forbidden," Sam echoed, glancing around nervously. "Are we allowed to be here?" Kalen hummed softly, the sound low and reassuring. His lights rippled in a sequence that translated to trust, understanding, reveal. Before Sam could question further, Kalen guided her to a small clearing where a cluster of luminous flowers bloomed. Their petals were translucent and pulsing with faint light, each one emitting a unique tone that blended into the forest's melody. Sam knelt, her breath caught. These flowers, they're alive. Not just biologically, they're connected to the environment. Kalen nodded, his lights flickering in agreement. Life, cycle, harmony. Sam carefully activated her scanner, recording the flowers' unique patterns. As she studied the readings, a realization struck her. These flowers aren't just part of the ecosystem, they're vital to it. If we can understand how they interact with the forest, we might be able to prove to the elders that we're here to protect this place, not harm it. Kalen's lights brightened, a clear sign of approval. Their moment of discovery was cut short when the ground beneath Sam shifted suddenly. A loud crack echoed through the forest as the crystalline surface fractured, sending her tumbling. "Kalen!" she shouted, her voice panicked as she slid toward a deep fissure. Kalen moved with astonishing speed, his form glowing brighter as he reached for her. His hands caught hers just as the ground stabilized, his strength keeping her from falling. For a moment they stayed like that, Sam's chest heaving as she clung to Kalen's hands. His lights shifted into soft, calming patterns, and a harmonic tone emanated from him, a sound she instinctively knew was meant to comfort. "Thanks," she said breathlessly, pulling herself back onto solid ground. Kalen's lights pulsed in response. Safety, protection, bond. Sam looked up at him, her heart pounding for reasons that had nothing to do with the fall. "I think we're more alike than you realize." When they returned to the village, the elders were waiting. Their bioluminescent patterns were subdued, their harmonic tones low and cautious. Sam stepped forward, clutching her scanner tightly. "I know you're worried about what we're doing here," she began, her voice steady despite the pressure of their glowing gazes. "But we're not here to take from your planet. We're here to learn, and to protect what makes it so special." She hesitated, then held up the scanner, displaying the data she'd collected. "These flowers, they're the key to everything. We need to work together to understand them, for the sake of your world and ours." Kalen stepped beside her, his lights shifting into a pattern of deep golds and greens. The translator produced fragments: support, trust, bridge worlds. The elders regarded them in silence for a long moment. Finally, their lights shifted subtly, their tones rising in harmony. "They agree," the translator announced. Sam exhaled in relief, a smile breaking across her face. She glanced at Kalen, who responded with a soft hum and a flicker of gold. In the face of discord, they had found harmony, a fragile but vital connection that would pave the way for both their worlds to understand each other. Chapter 4: The Fragility of Flesh and Life. The Ishari temple stood deep within the bioluminescent forest, its spire-like structure appearing to grow naturally from the ground, as if the planet itself had shaped it. Samantha gazed up at the luminous patterns etched into its walls, which pulsed in rhythm with the forest's subtle hum. Each light seemed alive, part of a greater whole. "This place is breathtaking," Sam said, her voice barely a whisper. Kalen stood beside her, his lights flickering in gentle waves of blue and gold. His tones harmonized softly, carrying a weight that the translator struggled to convey. "Sacred, cycle life." "What cycle?" Sam asked, stepping closer to the intricate carvings. Kalen led her inside, the interior of the temple glowing with a faint, ethereal light. The walls were covered in flowing patterns, and the air was filled with a soft harmonic resonance. At the center of the chamber stood a pedestal, upon which rested a single glowing flower. Kalen gestured to the flower, his tones shifting. The translator offered a fragmented explanation: life, beginning, end. Sam approached the pedestal, her hand hovering over the flower. Its glow was unlike anything she had seen before, a blend of colors that seemed to defy description. "It's beautiful. Is this what connects the Ishari to the forest?" Kalen's lights dimmed briefly, a sign of solemnity. "Yes, and more," Kalen explained, or rather, conveyed through patterns and tones, that the Ishari's connection to their world was symbiotic. The flowers, like the one before her, represented the culmination of their life cycle. As an Ishari aged, their light began to dim, and when it faded entirely, their essence returned to the forest, nourishing the flowers and the ecosystem. Sam's chest tightened as she pieced it together. "So, when one of you dies, your light becomes part of this." She gestured to the flower. Kalen's lights flickered in confirmation. "Not death, renewal." Sam nodded slowly, though the weight of the revelation lingered in her thoughts. "Do you ever miss the ones who've renewed?" Kalen's lights shifted into a pattern of muted greens and blues, accompanied by a low, resonant hum. The translator struggled but managed to produce a single word: always. As they left the temple, the forest around them seemed quieter, more introspective. Sam walked in silence for a while, her mind replaying Kalen's explanation. Finally, she broke the quiet. "I lost someone once," she said softly, her gaze fixed on the glowing ground. "Someone I loved." Kalen's lights dimmed slightly, his pace slowing to match hers. "He was kind, patient. The kind of person who made you feel like the world was brighter just by being in it," Sam continued. "But he got sick, and there was nothing anyone could do. Watching him fade, knowing I couldn't stop it, it was the hardest thing I've ever been through." Kalen's lights shifted into a soft, soothing rhythm, his tones humming faintly. The translator offered, "Grief, shared, light remains." Sam looked up at him, a lump forming in her throat. "Do you really believe that? That some part of them stays with us?" Kalen's golden lights brightened momentarily, a sign of certainty. Sam managed a small smile, her heart heavy but comforted. "Maybe you're right." As the days passed, Sam and Kalen worked together to refine their shared language, combining Ishari harmonics with human words and gestures. Their progress was slow but rewarding, each breakthrough bringing them closer to true understanding. One evening, as the sun set behind the glowing trees, Sam showed Kalen a small, hand-drawn chart she had been working on. It depicted the Ishari light patterns she had catalogued, along with their human equivalents. "What do you think?" she asked, holding it up. Kalen studied the chart, his lights shifting in rapid patterns. The translator produced fragments, impressive, shared effort, bridge worlds. Sam grinned. "High praise coming from you." Kalen hummed softly, his lights settling into a steady rhythm. Then he reached out, his translucent hand brushing against hers. Sam's breath caught at the warmth that radiated from his touch. His lights shifted again, forming a new pattern she hadn't seen before. The translator hesitated before producing a single, hesitant word: trust. Sam felt her chest tighten, her heart pounding as she looked up at him. "I trust you too, Kaelin." That night, as Sam lay in her quarters, staring up at the glowing ceiling, she couldn't help but reflect on the connection she had formed with Kaelin. It was unlike anything she had ever experienced, deeper than friendship, more profound than anything she could put into words. Beneath alien skies, they had found something extraordinary, a bond that transcended language, form, and even their understanding of life itself. In Kaelin's light, Sam found solace, and in her presence, Kaelin discovered something he had never known, a connection that felt as infinite as the stars above. Chapter 5. When the Stars Weep. The serene beauty of Isha was shattered without warning. What had begun as a calm evening under the glowing canopy turned into chaos as the skies above erupted in a violent storm. Sam stood on the edge of the village, shielding her eyes from the blinding flashes of light that streaked across the heavens. The Sky River, the ethereal aurora that had always danced so peacefully above Isha, now churned with erratic bursts of energy, casting jagged shadows across the forest. Kaelin appeared at her side, his lights flickering in rapid, urgent patterns. His harmonic tones were chaotic, almost distressed. "What's happening?" Sam shouted over the rising wind, clutching her datapad. The translator struggled but managed to produce fragments: storm, celestial alignment, imbalance. Sam frowned, her heart racing. An imbalance? Can it be stopped? Kaelin's lights dimmed briefly, a sign of uncertainty. Danger. Survival. Protect. The storm's effects were immediate. Massive glowing trees began to tremble, their roots dislodging as the ground beneath them split apart. Rivers that had hummed softly now roared with a cacophony of disrupted harmonics, their silvery waters spilling over into the forest. Sam and Kaelin raced toward the heart of the village, where Ishari elders were attempting to calm the chaos. Their bioluminescent patterns were frantic, their harmonic tones blending into a dissonant hum. "We need to help," Sam said breathlessly, her mind already racing through possible solutions. Kaelin nodded, his lights brightening with determination. The first challenge was stabilizing the village's core, where the Ishari's sacred gardens were located. These gardens housed the glowing flowers that were vital to the ecosystem's balance. Without them, the symbiotic harmony of the planet would collapse entirely. Sam worked alongside Kaelin and the elders, using her equipment to measure the storm's impact on the flowers. The readings were grim. Several of the plants had already withered, their light dimming to near extinction. "We need to find a way to shield them," Sam said, scanning the area for materials they could use. Kaelin's lights flickered in agreement. Together, they constructed makeshift barriers from fallen branches and fragments of the crystalline cliffs. As they worked, Kaelin's harmonic tones grew steadier, guiding the other Ishari and calming their panic. For a moment, Sam marveled at his ability to lead, even in the face of overwhelming danger. The second challenge came as the storm's intensity grew. Massive fissures began to tear through the ground, threatening to swallow entire sections of the village. Sam spotted a group of Ishari children stranded on a precarious ledge, their lights dim with fear. Without thinking, she sprinted toward them, her heart pounding as the ground shifted beneath her feet. "Sam, wait!" Kaelin called, his tones laced with urgency. "I can reach them," she shouted back. Reaching the ledge, Sam extended her hand, her voice soothing. "It's okay. I've got you." The children hesitated but eventually reached for her. One by one, she guided them to safety, her body trembling from the exertion. As the last child was pulled to safety, the ground beneath Sam gave way. She gasped, her body plummeting toward the jagged fissure below. Kaelin was there in an instant. His lights flared brilliantly as he reached for her, catching her arm just before she fell. His strength was undeniable, but Sam felt something else, a weakening in his light, a flicker of strain. "Kaelin!" she exclaimed, her voice filled with worry. Kaelin's lights shifted, his tones steady but faint. "Safety. Protect. Always." With one final effort, he pulled her up, his form glowing faintly as he steadied her. Later, as the storm began to subside, Sam and Kaelin found a moment of quiet amid the wreckage. The village had survived, but the damage was severe, and the toll on both the Ishari and the environment was evident. Sam turned to Kaelin, her eyes narrowing as she noticed the dimming of his light. "What's happening to you?" she asked, her voice tight with concern. Kaelin hesitated, his tones low and somber. The translator produced sacrifice, harmony disrupted, fading light. Sam's stomach twisted. Fading light? Kaelin, what does that mean? Kaelin's lights dimmed further, his harmonic tones struggling to form coherent patterns. Energy. Shared. Protect others. Sam realized with growing horror that Kaelin had been using his own life force to stabilize the storm and protect those around him. His light, his essence, was fading as a result. "No," she said, her voice firm. "We're not letting that happen. There has to be a way to help you." Kaelin's lights brightened briefly, his tones carrying a faint warmth. "Choice. My own. Protect you." Tears welled in Sam's eyes as she shook her head. "You don't get to make that choice alone. You saved me. I'm not letting you go without a fight." As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, the storm finally dissipated, leaving the forest in a fragile stillness. The sky river above had calmed, its colors soft and subdued. Sam sat beside Kaelin, her hand resting lightly on his arm. "We'll figure this out," she said softly, more to herself than to him. Kaelin's lights flickered faintly, his harmonic tones forming a single, clear word, together. Beneath the alien skies of Isha, their bond had been tested by chaos and loss. And though Kaelin's light had begun to fade, Sam's determination burned brighter than ever, a beacon of hope in the face of the storm's aftermath. Chapter 6. A Love That Dances Between Stars. The sky river blazed with brilliance, its ribbons of light swirling across the heavens like a celestial symphony. Sam stood at the edge of the Ishari temple's high platform, her heart racing as she gazed at the breathtaking display. Tonight marked the convergence, a rare cosmic alignment where the energies of the sky river intensified, pulsing in harmony with the Ishari's bioluminescent patterns. Kaelin stood beside her, his lights faint but steady, casting soft glows against the carved walls of the temple. His harmonic tones were weaker than before, but they carried a determined resonance. "This alignment," Sam said, glancing at him, "you said it can strengthen your light. How does it work?" Kaelin turned toward her, his golden hues flickering faintly. His tones were slow, deliberate, as he explained. The translator offered fragmented but clear words: connection, trust, shared energy. Sam nodded. "But what happens to me if I join this ritual?" Kaelin hesitated, his lights dimming briefly. "Risk, strain, unknown." "I don't care about the risk," Sam said firmly. "If it can save you, I'll do it." Kaelin's lights flared softly, his harmonic tones conveying gratitude and concern in equal measure. Together, harmony, bond. The elders of the Ishari stood in a circle around the temple's central platform, their glowing forms casting intricate patterns against the darkness. They hummed in unison, their tones resonating with the sky river above. Sam and Kaelin stepped into the center, the focus of the ritual. One elder stepped forward, her lights a steady pulse of deep violet and blue. The translator captured her words. "You are human. You risk your own light for ours. Why?" Sam straightened, meeting the elder's gaze. "Because Kalen risked everything to save me, and because I believe in what we've built together. If I can help him, if I can help all of you, then it's worth it." The elder's lights shifted into a contemplative rhythm before brightening. "Bravery, trust, unity, proceed." Kalen reached out, his translucent hand glowing faintly as it brushed against Sam's. She took it without hesitation, her heart pounding as the elders began to hum in harmony, their tones rising and falling like the tides of an unseen ocean. The Sky River's light descended, a cascade of energy that enveloped the temple in a radiant glow. Sam felt it immediately, a rush of warmth and pressure, as though the very air around her had become alive. Kalen's light began to brighten, his tones growing steadier as the energy flowed into him. But Sam felt the strain almost instantly. Her body trembled, her pulse quickening as the connection deepened. "Sam," Kalen said softly, his voice raw even through the translator. "Stop. Too much." "No," she gasped, gripping his hand tighter. "I'm not stopping." The energy intensified, and Sam felt her knees buckle. Kalen caught her, his glowing form cradling her as the Sky River's light pulsed around them. She could feel his presence, his essence, intertwining with hers, their connection transcending words, form, and even thought. For a brief, blinding moment, they were one. When the light finally dimmed, the temple fell silent. Sam opened her eyes, her body weak but her heart steady. She looked up to see Kalen, his golden hues glowing brighter than they had in days. His harmonic tones resonated with newfound strength, filling the air with a warm, steady melody. "You're okay," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Kalen knelt beside her, his lights flickering softly as he touched her face. "You saved me." Sam smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. "It wasn't just me. We did this together." The elders stepped forward, their lights shimmering in approval. Unity, strength, bond transcendent. Kalen helped Sam to her feet, his presence steadying her as the Sky River's light continued to flow faintly above. Together, they turned to face the elders, their connection now unshakable. Later that night, as the Sky River returned to its calm, ethereal dance, Sam and Kalen sat on the temple steps, watching the forest below. The trees, once shaken by the storm, glowed softly, their harmony restored. "Do you think the others will understand?" Sam asked quietly. Kalen's lights pulsed in a steady rhythm. "Some will, some will not. But understanding begins here." Sam nodded, her hand brushing against his. "No matter what happens, I'm glad I met you. You've shown me a world I never thought was possible." Kalen's tones resonated softly, carrying a simple but profound message. "You are my light." Sam smiled, her heart full. "And you're mine." Under the brilliance of the Sky River, their bond had become more than a connection between species. It was a love that transcended worlds, a harmony that danced between the stars. Chapter 7. Under Alien Sky. The village shimmered with renewed vitality, the bioluminescent trees glowing brighter than ever. The Sky River's light pulsed faintly above, its ribbons of color dancing in gentle waves. Samantha stood near the center of the village, surrounded by Ishari, whose patterns radiated calm and gratitude. Kalen stood beside her, his golden hues steady and vibrant. Since the convergence, his light had not only returned but seemed to burn brighter, a living testament to the bond they had forged. The elders approached, their patterns solemn but warm. The lead elder's tones rose, the translator catching her words. Harmony restored, gratitude eternal, future uncertain. Sam inclined her head respectfully. "Thank you for trusting me. I know what we've done here is just the beginning, but I hope it's a start toward something lasting." The Elder's lights shifted into a contemplative rhythm. "Unity begins with you both. A bridge between stars." Later, at the humans' research station, a tense discussion unfolded among the crew. Dr. Lang stood at the head of the meeting room, her arms crossed as she addressed Sam. "We've been ordered to begin withdrawal," Lang said, her tone clipped. "The Ishari have agreed to limited human presence, but most of the team has to return to Earth." Sam's heart sank. "What about Kaelin? What about the work we've done here?" Lang sighed. "It's not my call, Hayes. The higher-ups want to avoid risking further tension with the Ishari. They've made it clear this mission has to wrap up." Sam clenched her fists. "So, what? We just leave? Pretend none of this happened?" Lang's expression softened. "I'm sorry, Sam. I know this place means a lot to you, and I know Kaelin means even more." That evening, Sam sat with Kaelin beneath the glowing canopy of the forest. The news weighed heavily on her as she stared at the softly shimmering leaves. "I have to leave," she said finally, her voice breaking. Kaelin's lights dimmed slightly, though his tones remained steady. "I know. I don't want to go," she continued, tears welling in her eyes. "I don't know if I can." Kaelin reached out, his hand brushing against hers. "Choice yours. Always." Sam looked at him, her chest tightening. "You've shown me so much, Kaelin. This world, your people, everything. I don't want to lose you." Kaelin's lights brightened briefly, his tones carrying a warmth that wrapped around her like a comforting embrace. "Connection endures beyond distance." Sam closed her eyes, her tears falling silently. "What if I stayed?" Kaelin's lights flickered in surprise. His tones shifted into a pattern of caution and wonder. "Stay with us? I don't know if it's even possible," she admitted. "But I can't imagine going back to Earth and pretending this never happened. You're a part of me now, Kaelin. I don't want to lose that." Kaelin's lights steadied, and his tones softened into a melody that the translator captured as, "With you, always." The next day, the village gathered to witness a momentous occasion. At the heart of the sacred gardens, where the glowing flowers pulsed with gentle light, Sam and Kaelin stood together before the elders. The lead elder approached, carrying a small, radiant artifact, a crystalline shard that glowed with shifting colors. She extended it to Sam, her tones rising in a melody of approval and reverence. The translator produced her words: "Bond eternal, light shared, a bridge of love." Sam accepted the shard, her hands trembling. She turned to Kaelin, whose lights shifted into a pattern she recognized as joy. "What happens now?" she asked softly. Kaelin's tones hummed with warmth. "We move forward, together." Sam smiled, her heart full. Together. As the humans began their withdrawal from Isha, Sam made her decision. She stayed, becoming a permanent part of the Ishari village, a living bridge between their worlds. Over time, her work with Kaelin led to new understandings of Ishari culture and their unique connection to the planet. Her presence became a symbol of unity, a reminder that even under alien skies, love could shine brighter than the stars themselves. In Kaelin's light, Sam found a home, and in her presence, Kaelin discovered a love that transcended form, language, and the vastness of space. Together, they created a legacy written in the eternal dance of the Sky River. Chapter 8. A Light That Never Fade. Years later, beneath the glowing canopy of Isha, Samantha stood in the sacred gardens, her hand brushing lightly against the petals of a luminescent flower. Its gentle tones harmonized with the ambient hum of the forest, filling the air with a serene melody. The village had grown in her time here. Humans visited occasionally now, their presence carefully limited and guided by the Ishari, but the true transformation had been within Sam. She had adapted to Isha in ways she never imagined. Her body, once vulnerable to the planet's unique ecosystem, had developed a subtle resilience. Kaelin often joked that the forest itself had claimed her as one of its own. Kaelin appeared behind her, his golden hues vibrant as ever. His harmonic tones greeted her warmly, the translator, no longer necessary for her, remaining silent at her side. "You've been quiet today," Kaelin said, his tones rippling into words she now understood without effort. Sam turned, smiling softly. "Just thinking about how much has changed." Kaelin tilted his head, his lights shifting into a pattern she recognized as curiosity. "When I first came here," Sam began, "I thought I'd stay for a few months, maybe a year. I didn't think I'd ever find a place where I truly belonged. But then I met you." Kaelin stepped closer, his light patterns slowing into steady waves. "And now—" Sam looked out at the forest, the Sky River shimmering faintly above. "Now, I can't imagine being anywhere else. This world, it's become a part of me. And so have you." Kaelin reached out, his hand brushing hers. "You are not just part of this world, Sam. You are part of its harmony." That evening, as the stars began to appear, Sam and Kaelin walked through the village. The other Ishari greeted them warmly, their lights shimmering in patterns of recognition and affection. Children darted between the glowing trees, their laughter mingling with the forest's hum. Sam paused as they reached the edge of the village, where the cliffs overlooked the Sky River. She gazed up at the celestial ribbons of light, her heart swelling with gratitude. "Do you ever wonder what's out there?" she asked Kaelin, gesturing to the endless expanse of stars. Kaelin's tones carried a note of gentle humor. "I wonder. But I have no need to seek it. Everything I need is here." Sam laughed softly, shaking her head. "You always know the right thing to say." Kaelin's lights flickered playfully. "Only because I know you." As the night deepened, Sam and Kaelin returned to the sacred gardens, where the glowing flowers pulsed softly in time with the Sky River above. Sam knelt by a flower, her fingers tracing its delicate petals. "These flowers," she said, "they're more than just beautiful. They're a reminder of everything we've been through. The storms, the sacrifices, the bond we've built." Kaelin's tones softened, his lights pulsing in gentle waves. "They are part of us, as we are part of them." Sam stood and turned to him, her expression tender. "Kaelin, do you ever think about how improbable this is? A human and an Ishari, two beings who never should have met, finding this kind of connection." Kaelin stepped closer, his golden hues brightening. "Improbable, but inevitable. Our light was always meant to find each other." Sam smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. "You're a poet, you know that?" Kaelin's harmonic tones resonated with amusement. "Only for you." As the Sky River danced above them, Sam and Kaelin stood together in perfect harmony. Their bond had become more than a connection between two beings. It was a testament to the resilience of love, a beacon that shone brightly under alien skies. Years later, when the story of Samantha Hayes and Kaelin was told, it was said that their love had bridged worlds, bringing light to both Isha and Earth. And though time and distance could separate stars, their light would never fade, etched forever in the eternal dance of the cosmos.